Hi, it's me Jazzy. I'm back with another tech related video, and today I'm taking a look at something a little bit different. This is a portable colour screen spot welder. This has been sent over to me by Banggood, so thank you Banggood. Look forward to taking a look at this. So I've not used one of these before, so this is going to be a voyage of discovery. Let's get this over on the bench and take a closer look. Okay, so I've wanted to try one of these little spot welders for a while now. This has got a 1.8 inch LCD colour screen and it looks quite promising. So there you go, weld current is 1200 amps max, type C input 5 volts 2.1 amps. Some clever stuff going on to get 1200 amps welding out of this. I'm intrigued. Let's see what we can do with a spot welding machine. Right, okay. It's quite a large device then. I'm not sure what to expect. A bit like a portable radio, I guess. Got a stand on the back. Okay. Alright, that's okay. No complaints about the stand. So here's our I/O on the top. There's our USB-A out and our type C in for charging. And our connections for our welding probes. Here's everything we need in the box here. So we got a USB-A to C with spare tips as well. I've got some practice stuff in here so we can have a go at practicing with this. That's good. I like the fact they've included some practice materials. Here's the probes. Some decent cables on there. Alright, gold connectors. These look like copper probes. They feel quite decent. They feel quite robust, which is good. These are, I think, for little jigs for when you're making up the battery packs. We're going to have a go at this. We're going to get some rechargeable cells and make up some battery packs because that seems like fun. We've got a little file in here. This is probably for filing off the welds on the top of the batteries so you get a good contact. And we've got our instruction manual here. Here's a multilingual. Yeah, there we go. All right, seems pretty simple then. Got a main interface, so we've got a general mode and a smart mode, a USB interface mode, and various indicator lights. Okay, fantastic. All looks fairly straightforward then. Let's have a look then. Does it power up? Does. Okay, so when you first turn the TK-10A on, it comes up in the main interface. This is general mode here. So you've got your battery capacity and voltage there. You've got the temperature of the device itself, currently 24 degrees C. And using the top button here, you can move around your options. So you've got your gap, that's your interval time between pulses. That changes the parameters of your main pulse. That turns your overcurrent protection on and off. This changes modes. We'll take a look at that in a moment. That changes how many times it pulses. That changes the delay. And that changes your preheating time. These are all different parameters that can affect the way you weld. You've also got a smart mode. So if you go into smart mode there, so set on button cell at the moment, so you can change it to steel sheet or you can change it to cylinder cell. So if you're welding something like a 18650, something like this, we'll be playing with these in a moment. So if we go down here, you can change the strips that you're using. So the strips that you're welding with, we've got some here to test. You can change that from nickel plated to pure nickel depending on what you're using. And you can also change the thickness of it. From 0.1 to 0.25, you can also change the power. That's set to 50 joules at the moment. Okay, so it goes up to 400 joules. Also in the menu, if you press the power button on the top, it takes you into the USB menu and you can see I've got 7.8 volts, 67% in the power bank. So you can use this as a power bank. So the USB-C is used for charging the device and the USB-A, you can use this as a power bank. So if you've got this charged up and you need to charge your phone or your multimeter or whatever, you've got a nice little USB power bank you can use. So rather conveniently, they've provided us some nickel strip for some practicing, and I've got some 18650 cells over here that we can use, that I've harvested from various things, and they give you some spare tips as well, which is rather nice. Some spare copper tips for the probes there. Very nice. I like the fact that these are copper, because apparently on some of these types of welders they're not. This will apparently give us a better job, which is what we need. It's certainly got decent looking cables on there. 8 AWG, look at that, 200 degrees C. These are decent with gold connectors. You've also got a short circuit protection, which means if you accidentally touch the tips together, rather than just sparking and causing general chaos, it will actually cut out the unit to prevent any damage to it. That's quite handy. I like that. That seems very sensible. And it does give you in the instructions some common welding parameters there. So depending on the thickness of the strip that you're using, gives you some sort of rough idea, if you've never done spot welding before with one of these, as to what to set your preheating pulse and interval to. So when welding, the downward pressure of the stylus should be moderate. Excessive downward pressure will reduce the contact resistance between the stylus and the connecting piece. So let's give it a go. Let's see how easy this is to use. I have never used a portable spot welder before. This is the first time I've experienced one. So let's learn it together. Right, okay, so they're in. And be careful not to touch them. As ever, do not cross the streams. So if I set it to 2, with a delay of 1 second, a preheat of 1 millisecond. All right, so let's try that. So it should pulse twice then, I guess. It does. Hey, that's quite good, isn't it? I feel like that's maybe going to give you a good weld. Now, this is where the little file comes in handy for preparing some of these batteries, because these are harvested from various things. But let's have a go. Like I say, I'm definitely not an expert on this. This is the first time I've used one of these devices. But if I can use this out of the box with no prior training on it or anything, I've literally just started using it, learning by doing. Okay, so that's set to 1 millisecond, so we're going to change that to 5. Okay, let's see what we get this time, shall we? So you do get 2. Now, one thing I found there, when I put the probes down, they slide about a bit. I think it's got to get a bit used to that. So even my test one that I did here, it's only got 2 welds on it. You can see that's pretty on there. That is pretty on there. I think literally to get that off, look, I'm just tearing the strip. The welds are still there. That's pretty darn on there. So you can see where I've been having a bit of a practice there, but that's where this comes in handy, because you can just take that back down, ready for another go. Okay, so I've prepared these 4 18650s. We're going to weld a strip along. Obviously, usual battery safety common sense applies, because you're working with something that's already charged to some extent. These have come out of an old laptop battery. Now, I've got it set for the parameters they suggested in the instruction book. So you can see what I've got this on here. I've got my main pulse set to 95, 2 times pulse, delay of 1 second, preheat of 5 milliseconds, and a gap of 7 milliseconds. That seems to work. I've had a bit of a practice on a few, and this seems to give me the best experience. Obviously, if you're switching between different materials and you've got different gauge strips, these are really thin strips that they've supplied, but it's nice that they've supplied these practice ones, because I already had the batteries hanging around. Now, I do notice on a lot of these original batteries, they seem to have 4 So we'll go for 4 on each one. Now the one thing to be aware of if you've not done it before is the fact that they do sort of skid around on the strip because it's quite shiny. So let's get that on. There you go, 2 pulses. Then we do another 2 there. And you don't need a lot of pressure on them, just a little bit. Since I've got the... There you go. You get into the rhythm after a few. There you go. That's not so bad. Fantastic. Wow, it's a bit of a sparky one. I think that's because I didn't have it quite in contact. Yeah. That is what happens if you don't push it down enough. That's it. There you go. Because I had that slightly proud, I got a little bit of a spark. Not much. There's worse things that'll get you, like your soldering iron. Okay. Now I have seen arrangements where they use these as part of the block and then they just solder the strip across there. I've just been using this as a jig basically because I just found it quite handy. So okay, let's finish off the job then. Let's put a strip across the top of the 4. Now there will be at home experienced portable spot welders telling me that there are much better ways of using this TK-10A, but what I've gleaned from it is I've taken this out of the box and a few minutes later I'm happily making up battery packs. You know, that's going nowhere. Might not be the neatest of spot welds, but if I wanted to make up a battery pack for a project, and I may well use this very battery pack because there's not that much wrong with these 18650s. They do hold a charge, probably not as much as they used to, but they do hold a charge. So what I'm going to do in this case is I'm going to hit this one here first. Let's get this one tacked in, and then we'll work around it. Right. I wonder if I'm better going acrossways like that. There we go. That's not so bad, is it? This is not going to be the neatest battery pack in the world, but it's definitely going to be a battery pack. There we go. Fantastic. I mean, there's no more risk of me burning myself than when I'm soldering. So I'm just going to position one and then I'll get the other one in. There we go. That's it. And we've got one more to go. Now I've got to make sure that I press down enough to hold it in place so I don't get too much of a spark. That's not bad. Let's do another 2 on that. There you go. I think the more you do it, the more you're going to get comfortable with it. Now, obviously, remember not to touch the probes, although this does have a safety cutout, but it's obviously best practice not to let them touch. But there you go. What's wrong with that? It might not be the absolute neatest battery pack, but it's definitely a battery pack, isn't it? That's not bad. All right, let's have one more quick go then. We'll do a trio of batteries. Now you can get, I've had a look, and you can get all sorts of amazing pre-cut nickel shapes and stuff for doing this. But I'm just gonna have a go with my basic strips here and see what I can do. It's part of the fun, isn't it? Here we go. Just imagine all the fun I can have making up little projects and battery banks and stuff. I think once you get the settings right on the unit itself and you get the technique, then I think you're golden. There we go. I mean, it's possibly not the neatest job, but is it going to work? Yeah, of course it is. The thing is, yeah, you could tell me there's better ways of doing this, but the one thing I could say is that ain't coming apart. This is great. This is really good. It's really easy to do, and once you get the hang of it, you'll never look back. Now, I've been working quite a lot with this, and I've still got 2 bars of battery, so the battery life on this is pretty darn good. And don't forget, you can use it as a battery bank as well, so you can, once you've done your spot welding, you can charge your phone up. There's things like £40 on Banggood right now. I think that's really good value. It's not bad for a bit of fun. I think it's a handy little tool to have if you're likely to be working with rechargeable batteries and you've got the ability to make up battery packs like this for projects and stuff, or even to replace batteries. Like if you've got a very specific battery pack for a piece of test gear or something, and you've got the ability to make up a custom one, I think that's really cool. And of course here I'm recycling these 18650s, which would have otherwise just sat there doing nothing. I can make these into useful power sources, and there are, once you get good, there are all sorts of different shapes you can get. There's a whole world of battery spot welding that I literally wasn't aware of until now. Again, it's not the neatest looking battery pack, but that's all right. Not wrong with that. I reckon this is a great little gadget for £40. It comes with everything you need to get going, and it's pretty easy to harvest some 18650s. Like I say, I pulled these out of an old laptop battery, so anything like that, you can have a go, you can have a practice. It comes with enough of the nickel strip to get you going for a bit of a practice, and then once you look into it, there's loads of these different gauges of these nickel strips and different shapes you can get for different battery packs. And like I say, these little, I just used these as a guide for when I was making my packs up, but you can actually get these that you'd actually put on the batteries first and then put the strips over the top of them. So it keeps your battery pack in a nice shape. But I think that's pretty good. It might not be the neatest, but as you saw, it took quite a lot of effort to pull those welds off, and they might not be quite in a straight line. It does the job. From a beginner point of view, from someone that's never used a portable battery spot welder before, really easy to set up, easy to use. I like the fact it's a power bank as well. It's just a cool little gadget, but not just a gadget that's actually going to be really useful for projects, and I like that. So there you go, the DOCREATE TK-10A portable battery spot welder. Well, what did I make of it? Well, I've never used one of these little portable spot welders before, so I was pleasantly surprised that straight out the box it's really easy to use. Just connect your probes and off you go. I didn't really have any problems. It took a little bit of trial and error to work out the best settings. It gives you a few examples in the instructions, but after a little bit of practice, once you get into the rhythm of it, it's really easy to do, and it's a really cool way of making up battery packs and stuff, because you can recycle bits and bobs as I was doing there. Plus there's a whole world of battery welding stuff that I was completely unaware of. There's all sorts of nickel strips and tabs and bits and bobs you can get to make up battery packs. It's pretty cool. I was considering making up my own spot welder, but when you've got something that's this compact and powerful, and it's also a power bank as well, which is double handy, then it just does the job. I don't need to make anything else. This will be more than ample for my battery welding needs. And I think for £40 off of Banggood, I think it's a really good deal. It's a useful thing to have for the money, because you never know when you might need to put together a battery pack for something. If you've got a unique piece of gear that the rechargeable pack is no good and you can't get the bits for it anymore, you could make up your own battery pack. And once you get the settings right, you don't really get any sparks. I had a couple of sparks where I wasn't quite at the right angle or didn't have it set quite right, but once you get it set just right, it's absolutely fine. And as we saw, the battery life's pretty good as well. I still haven't charged it up yet. So if you do want to check out the DOCREATE TK-10A for yourself, I'll leave the links in the video description. And don't forget, I've also got some Banggood discount codes down there as well. And big thanks to Banggood for sending this over for me to take a look at. So I hope you've enjoyed today's video. As always, massive thanks to everyone for watching, sharing, liking and subscribing. And big thanks to all my YouTube members. Don't forget, you can also now support me on Patreon and buy me a coffee if you wish. It helps to support the channel and keeps me making more cool tech videos. I'll be back soon with another tech related video, but in the meantime, take care and I'll see you on the next one.